Ada perkosaan massal, betul nggak ada perkosaan massal? Itu nggak pernah ada.
So get this. Indonesia's culture minister just looked straight at the camera and called a documented mass rape a rumor. I'm talking about coordinated sexual violence against ethnic Chinese women during the 1998 riots, investigated by the government's own fact-finding team, survivors, witnesses, medical records, the works. And this guy? Nah, never happened. What the hell is going on here? May 1998, Indonesia is collapsing. Suharto's 3-decade dictatorship is on its last legs. Jakarta's in flames, literally. And in the middle of the chaos is a Catholic priest, Father Sandiawan. With a small volunteer team, he's racing from hospital to hospital, trying to help. That's when he starts noticing a pattern that chills him to the bone. One story still wrecks him. A Chinese-Indonesian college student is raped in her dorm room by 2 men. She fights back. They grab a curtain rod. They stab her, first her stomach, then her genitals. She should have bled out, but she stayed conscious. Nearly 3 decades later, Father Sandiawan still breaks down when he talks about her. Now here's where it gets serious. The government realizes it can't look away. So President Habibie forms an official investigation, the Joint Fact-Finding Team, TGPF. This wasn't a puppet committee. It had military officials, lawyers, police, and human rights defenders. 18 people, independent, respected. 3 months later, the findings drop. 52 documented rapes, 14 with brutal violence, 10 more sexual assaults, dozens of harassment cases. Everywhere, a sickening pattern. Victims were Chinese women, targeted, systematically. One activist, Ida Fatia Nadia, personally assisted 15 survivors. Almost all, she says, had injuries to their genitals. These were just the documented cases. Activists believe the real number was far higher. Many victims never came forward, silenced by shame and fear. A legal expert on the team read the findings and didn't hesitate. This wasn't random violence. It was widespread, targeted, systematic. A crime against humanity. So you've got a government report, eyewitnesses, medical data, international support for investigations. Case closed, right? Not even close. In 2025, Fadli Zon, Member of Parliament, former Deputy Speaker, and close ally of President Prabowo, goes on camera and says, "Mass rapes? Who says that happened? Show me the proof." He calls it a story, a rumor. Says it's not even in Indonesia's official history books. Except, page 669 of the National History textbook explicitly mentions mass rapes targeting ethnic Chinese women during the riots. So, yeah, someone didn't do their homework. And when reporters push back, he doesn't back down. He doubles down. Where are the legal facts? The academic evidence? He starts questioning whether the crimes were really systematic or massive. And here's where the red flags start flying. Fadli is a senior figure in the Gerindra party, the one founded by Prabowo Subianto. And Prabowo in 1998. He was a top military commander. Now, the TGPF report doesn't accuse him of ordering the rapes, but it does name him in relation to other serious violations, like the kidnapping of pro-democracy activists. It calls for further investigation into the role of military commanders, including him. So when a close ally like Fadli starts throwing shade at the report's credibility, you have to ask, Is this about protecting the truth or protecting power? Look, I could hit you with numbers all day, but let me tell you about Mei Ling Oe Gardner. She was 57 during the riots, a respected professor, represented the Chinese-Indonesian community in public hearings. Now she's 84. And when a journalist showed her Fadli's comments, she went silent. 10 seconds, then whispered, "It hurts." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "What this minister is doing," she said, "is painful. Maybe he says it wasn't mass because he never lived through it." And Father Sandyawan? He still works with survivors, still angry, still crying. "This wasn't a rumor," he says. "This really happened." But this story isn't just about 1998, it's about now. Marzuki Darusman, who led the TGPF, saw this denial coming. He told reporters, "If Fadli wants legal-level proof, we'll need a full judicial process. But that will also spotlight the role of Prabowo in 1998. And there it is. It's damage control. Deny the atrocities. Demand impossible standards of evidence. Distract from inconvenient truths. It's the same playbook used by genocide deniers, Holocaust deniers, and war crimes apologists around the world. Now, certain political elites in Indonesia are reaching for that same manual. Here's why this isn't just historical nitpicking. When leaders start calling documented atrocities rumors, they aren't just whitewashing the past. They're testing what they can get away with in the future. The 1998 investigation set a precedent. The state admitted wrongdoing. Habibie oversaw the investigation. Jokowi, decades later, acknowledged the broader human rights abuses of that era, even if justice never came. But now, a senior politician is trying to erase all that with one dismissive word: rumor. Both Marzuki and Mei Ling worry that Indonesia is backsliding, away from accountability toward authoritarian amnesia, where pain is papered over and truth gets redacted. So what now? The evidence hasn't gone anywhere. The survivors are still alive. The documentation sits in public archives. International legal definitions haven't changed. What's changed is political courage. Mei Ling says she refuses to surrender. "I stay optimistic for the next generation," she says, "but the pain, it never goes away." Father Sandyawan's still fighting, still carrying the trauma of stories he couldn't forget if he tried. So no, the real question isn't whether these rapes happened. They did. The question is, are we going to let politicians erase documented history just because it's politically inconvenient? Because when they do that, they're not just betraying the victims. They're setting the stage for it to happen again. The survivors remember. The evidence exists. And truth doesn't care about your politics.